Hello YouTube. About 2 weeks ago, at least at the point at which I made this video, a new patch has been released for KSP, and there were a couple of new things added in this new patch. Um, One of my highlights that I think was very cool is a new engine. Uh, it's called the Rapier engine, and the big thing about this is that it has the ability to change between an air breathing engine and a normal rocket engine, which well, it's very efficient for if you know, yeah, well, for mainly SSTOs, those planes that go, to space, because they this way they only need one engine, so they don't, have to drag all that extra weight with them. So yeah, that's very cool. There was also something with uh, archive, so it would be more. It would be simpler to keep track of all the science you've gathered. So where you got it from, where you got it from, and that kind of thing. They also made tweakables, and for me the most important ones were the ability to steer with the standard wheels, those spaceplane wheels, and you've got ability, which is very nice, to deploy your parachutes at any height you want. And you get the ability to empty your fuel cans before departure. That can also be quite handy. And especially those chutes are very nice because especially if you go to Juna, you really want your chutes to open really fast because if you get too close to the ground, the density of the atmosphere will be so big that your chute grabs so much air and gas that you will just immediately stop and your rocket will explode and crash. But if you deploy it very high up in the atmosphere, the air isn't so dense, so you won't stop as fast. But you will have to wait a little bit of a long time before you get to the surface. But it's better than crashing. And you can also put it at like 50 meters. So if you're at Kerbin or something and you don't want to wait, half a minute it takes to fall all the way down to the water, you can just deploy it at 50 meters, and you'll touch down very fast. So that's very nice. What you're seeing in the background is an attempt of me to go to the moon with an SSTO using the new Rapier engine and the rocket that was launched here. The idea is that the spaceplane would rendezvous with it to pick up some fuel, because it can do it on its own. Because you'll need a rather big spaceplane if you want to go to the moon. It needs to have a nuclear engine, and if spaceplanes get really big, they tend to flip out. If you try to take off with them. So hard stuff, I guess. You could try it. I bet it's possible, but I think it's pretty hard. Okay. And I also wanted to talk about what, in my opinion, would be kind of fun to add to the game. And I wish I had the ability to make mods, or it would also be really nice if the developers heard this, but I don't suspect. No, I almost certainly know that those things aren't going to happen in the near future. If they are going to happen at all, probably not. But anyways, it's just fun. It's just fun to tell about it, because it's a little bit like daydreaming, because that's always fun. So what I think would be fun, and what I also thought that we meant with tweakables when they announced that it would be in patch 0.23, is the ability to make any kind of engine you want, or any kind of fuel tank or solar panels for that matter. I thought they meant something like there's also a mod for this, but I think that mod isn't very fleshed out. Because what it is, that mod gives you the ability to make fuel cans of any size you want. But I don't think that's very handy to give you the ability to make it any size you want. I think that makes it overly complicated. So what I think would be fun, or one, well, a little bit better, is if you could go to a separate building or so, or even easier, just make it in the building where you just build rockets, and instead of like having 20 different fuel cans, you have one button with like a few options. One could be the diameter, like 0.5 meters, the probe sized, 1 meter diameter sized, and 3 meter diameter sized, and you could even go crazy and make what you see in a lot of mods, the 5 meter diameter sized cans, fuel cans that is. And you could give the lengths of it. You could make them those itty bitty 1/4 size of the regular sized fuel can. And with the regular sized fuel can, I mean the one that you got in the 1/4 of the size of the fuel cans that you got in the really old KSPs. You had this. Yeah, it was about 3 or 4 times the height of the diameter, and and with 1/4, I mean, the smallest can you have. So you have this. You can choose between 1/4 of the default, the half of it, 1, 2 times, 4 times, and you shouldn't go bigger than. You could go 8 times the size, or 6 maybe. I think making it steps of 2, going from 4 to 8 would be the best thing. And you could do and you get the option, which kind of fuel you want to put in it, and depending on that thing, it could change the color of the fuel can, just to make it a little bit more fancy or something like that. You could put xenon gas in it. I don't know why you would want that gross of amount. A 3 meter diameter, huge, an orange tank fuel xenon gas. That would be pretty cool. But you could fill them with like only liquid fuel, or that would also be an option. You can set percentages of how much you want to be filled with anything. So I think that would be. It would save a lot of slots. You wouldn't have spent. You wouldn't need to spend as much time as you do now. Picking out which fuel can you want. I don't know about you, but I always need to search for like 2 to 4 seconds to get the fuel can one. Need to go through all the tabs. And within the tabs I need to go through a few tabs. So it could. I think this saves a little bit time, and I don't know. Maybe you could, have a tab with favorites, in which you could put fuel cans or engines you like that you use very often, or you get maybe a recent tab just to. Maybe that would speed things up a little. And with tweakable solar panels, I mean, you could tweak the size. Now you have the 2x3, the 1x6, the 1x1, and those really gargantuan ones. Maybe you could also make that somehow tweakable. Although I think solar panels are pretty good covered, but I don't know, maybe what the heck, you could give people the option to make 1x2 solar panels. I usually only use the 1x1 because that's most of the cases with most rockets enough, unless you use like those xenon driven engines, those ion engines, which are pretty cool. I think those should get a little buff, because now they're they're very efficient because of the rate. They are still less efficient than than the, for instance, the small Rockomax engine. So I think if you have the patience, you should, if you have that amount of patience, I think it would be cool if you get rewarded by very high specific impulse. And you could also, I think that would be nice, especially for engines, and that would be, the most coolest thing if you could make those tweakable, and you could like have 4 different values for all the which you could, imagine 4 sliders. You think of it like you have 30 points to spend, and you could put 4 points in mass, which would decrease mass. You could like put 12 points in efficiency, which would rise the efficiency of it, and you could like put you have mass, you have specific impulse. What do you have more? Maybe you could like spend 5 points to make it as well as to make it like the rapier engine, to give it 2 modes. You would lose a little bit of points, but you get the you would get you get the ability to switch modes. You could get extra points by making by choosing, instead of the 0.5 the standard diameter, which is 1 diameter, you could make it a 3 diameter engine. It's logical that you get extra points for that, because it's bigger, it takes up more space. So and that way you could get extra points. You could spend a little bit more points to make them radial engines. And of course with this you have a very big amount of different rockers. The amount of different rockers you get would I think go around 100,000. I don't know. I mean, you have 30 points divided by, I don't know, like four things or something. So I think I'm just guesstimating this. I think it would get around 100,000. But I guess you could make the engines procedurally generated, like make them longer. If the mass is decreased, like give them like, I don't know, some kind of weird bulbs on the side if they get more efficient, which could be heating chambers. I don't know what in engines. Just make up something and it's the right answer. Just something to show that it's a very efficient engine. Like if you put 2 points in it, it will get red, or it will get a little curve in it or something, or it will get a smiley face on it. I don't know, make up something, and that way you could have a lot of different engines. Make them very specific for what you want, because at the moment there are very big gaps between the engines, and over the years they have added more engines with different with different stats and stuff, but they still leave very very large amounts of space between them, and and I think that it makes the game deeper this way, because you can find exactly the right engine that you need, but it also makes the game more easier, because it would get a little bit more complicated, because you would have to pick all these stats. So maybe you could get a few presets of engines, so people wouldn't in the beginning have to break their head about all these stats you have on the engines. And well, that way the game would get deeper, and at the long run easier, because eventually easier, because you have engines that are very pointed at what you want. Because in the beginning, if you take off, you want a rocket with very high thrust, which could also, the thrust could be one of those sliders. You have specific impulse, thrust, and weight. Those could be the 3 main ones, I think. Those are the main. You could being radial could be one of them. Being different modes, could be one of them. One or the other mode could be one of them. The air breathing one or the closed cycle one mode. And I bet you could make up a lot more things. Maybe if it had ability to gimbaling. Yeah, Gimlin could does. You could make up a whole host of properties the engines would have, and yeah, that would be very make the game deeper and, in my opinion, more fun. I also wanted to say something about Rapier engine. It's a very good engine because even when it goes into normal rocket mode, it's still very efficient. It's like 360 ISP, while I think the standard engine has like 340 or something like that. Oh, and of course you can't end the KSP video without anything crashing. Well, bye bye YouTube.